right? They encouraged it when it was BLM. Like, they literally burnt down police stations, and it was fine. The mayor came out and was like, no problem, no arrests, no big deal. We don't give a fuck.
Right.
Take down statues, destroy buildings, burn cop cars, do whatever you want to do. But the moment it was Israel, now all of a sudden,
why do you think
students
okay
get the shit beat out of them? They get arrested, they get pepper sprayed, they get fucking maced, and those are peaceful protests. BLM was not peaceful, but it was fine because it wasn't criticizing.
Telling you guys that Patrick Bet-David is quickly becoming one of my favorite podcasters and personalities in the conservative media space, and this is the exact reason why that you're going to see in this video, because most people out there are too scared to talk about the things that Patrick Bet-David are going to talk about in this video on the PBD podcast. Most people, we see the people that are brave enough to talk about those things but don't own their own company get treatment like Candace Owens got from the Daily Wire. But because Patrick Bet-David owns Valuetainment, and yeah, I think he has investors that invest and help him grow the company, but I don't think he's bringing on any investors that don't help him or allow him to say whatever he wants, basically whatever he wants. And if they don't like it, they can leave. They can pull their money out, I'm sure is his philosophy on the whole thing, because if it wasn't, he wouldn't be talking about what he talks about in this video or allow this to be aired on his YouTube channel, Valuetainment. Let's get into this clip here of Dan Bilzerian dropping nukes on Patrick Bet-David about who really runs the world. Let's get into this video. Very, very interesting stuff.
So you're America first. Is it fair to say you're America first? Okay. How do you feel about the protesting and the rioting going on in schools, academia, Harvard, Columbia, when you've seen all the stuff that's going on, Free Palestine, Gays for Gaza? When you see that, what do you think about it? Does it do anything to you, or you're like, let me support them?
I mean, I think it's pretty funny that it wasn't a problem until it was against Israel. It wasn't a problem with BLM. It was fucking encouraged with BLM.
It was always a problem with
bullshit.
BLM.
They fucking encouraged it. They let them burn down police stations. There was no repercussions.
I'm not talking mainstream.
No, I'm talking about our government and our media encouraged that shit. Right? They encouraged it when it was BLM. Like, they literally burnt down police stations, and it was fine. The mayor came out and was like, no problem, no arrests, no big deal. We don't give a fuck.
Right.
Take down statues, destroy buildings, burn cop cars, do whatever you want to do. But the moment it was Israel, now all of a sudden,
why do you think
students
okay
get the shit beat out of them? They get arrested, they get pepper sprayed, they get fucking maced, and those are peaceful protests. BLM was not peaceful. But it was fine because it wasn't criticizing Israel. What does that tell you?
Let me ask you a question.
Well, we'll answer that. What does that tell you? Who's in charge here?
But you're talking to a guy that I'm not sitting here saying what BLM. I'm talking to you like you and I. I'm not talking to you with $2-3 billion of damage they did to small business owners in communities that African Americans are living in, and who controls mainstream media. And there's only 2 outlets right now. We're talking to a couple of your friends here that were during lunchtime. We're having a conversation while we're having dinner with who controls mainstream media, the left. The only one that's on the right is one, okay? And that's also going to the left. Who controls CNN, CBS, ABC? That's left. Who controls universities?
If you enjoy content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Left. Who controls schools?
Well, it's like 90-something% Jewish. Right. So, we could say left, but it's Jewish if we're being honest.
Not necessarily, because even right now, if you think about it, if you think about the right and the left, okay, who's taking the biggest hit with losing Jewish voters? Because most Jews vote left. They're not voting on the right.
Jewish vote is irrelevant. They're like 2% of the population.
But the money that they vote with their money.
I mean, yeah, but like at the end of the day, I think how much money goes into these campaigns isn't going to dictate as much as when you have a president that's like potentially getting assassinated. Like those are the drivers. I mean, Kamala Harris is a drunken school teacher. Like she can't even like formulate a coherent sentence. I mean, I don't know. The idea of voting for her just seems crazy. My biggest criticism of Trump is his support of Israel. I mean, aside from that, I mean,
why do you think he's supporting Israel?
Because of money. That's why they all fucking support Israel. Money.
Well, you said it's not about money a minute ago.
Well, he wants money. I mean, these politicians are right.
That's the one thing that I disagree on with Dan Bilzerian here, which it is pretty crazy that people like Dan Bilzerian are starting to say stuff like this. That's how you know the general population is starting to wake up to certain things, certain patterns that they're recognizing. So that's good. Anytime the general population can wake up to stuff, that's great. Obviously got to watch what we say here, but I disagree that it's about money with Trump. I think it's for most of these people, it's about power. Which is, it goes hand in hand, of course. But I think that it's more with Trump, it's about power. And I think Trump knows from being inside and seeing the inside and how everything works on the inside and all the information that we've gotten from other people like Thomas Massey from the inside, that if you don't sell out to Ben Shapiro's favorite people, you're not going to get power. And yes, Trump might have slipped through the cracks the first time. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Maybe they allowed him to get office on purpose, or maybe he was sold out the first time and we just didn't really see it as much. Whatever the case is, he saw the inside and he saw what it takes to get back in office when you're on everyone's radar like he is. He is the person on everyone's radar. I think Trump doesn't need any more money, but he knows that if he wants to win again, he has to get on those people's good side. I think that's what it comes down to. He has to be on Ben Shapiro's favorite country's good side. I think that's what it is, more than money.
I mean, there's two reasons to run for president.
Right.
Because you're a good person and you want to do good.
Okay.
Or because you want fucking money.
Sure.
And fame. That's it. It's the only reason somebody would join president.
A good person.
Or you want money and fame.
And fame.
That's it.
Two reasons why you run.
Why else would you
Why
run
do you think
president?
Trump's reason is?
Money and fame.
You think he wants money and fame?
100%.
You think Trump's running because he wants money and fame?
100%.
He has money. He is famous.
He wants people to love him. He wants attention. I mean, he was doing like reality shows for Christ's sakes. Like,
I think it's a power thing. I think they're missing out on a huge factor that is the power thing. Power is there comes to a certain point where you have enough money to where you can basically do anything you possibly want and also never make another cent for the rest of your life. And then it's just like a game, like how much more money can I make, whatever. But when it comes to power, there's always a new level of power. There's always a new level you can go to. So when it comes to Trump, I don't think he needs any more fame. I don't think he wants any more fame. I think at that point, fame becomes a little bit miserable. Maybe I'm wrong, but I also don't think he needs any more money. He literally doesn't need, what else could he possibly need more money for? But when it comes to power, there's always a new level. I think they're missing a huge component. That is the power component.
he wants more money.
I totally get it, but you think he is more, he is, how much you think it matters for Trump to be liked?
I think he wants people to like him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that's the case, he should have never ran, because ever since he ran, people don't like him.
I get it. Well, I mean, but the fame is like that. I mean, fame is polarizing. Like, there's very few people that become famous that don't have people hate them. I mean, it comes with the territory. Like, if you want to be loved, you're going to be hated as well. It's just, that's the way.
In 2014, he could have been invited to Beyonce and Jay-Z's party in 2014. In 2014, he would have been invited to, with NAACP. In 20, he went to everything. So
one thing to be invited to parties, another thing to have international status and legacy, and I mean.
So the reason why I brought the money side with Jews. So who do you think the recent event with October 7th hurt more, the left or the right, politically?
October 7th? What do you mean?
Israel, Hamas, like this whole back and forth. Which political party you think has lost more, taken a bigger hit with their position they've taken with the Jews?
I mean, they're both pro-Israel. So I don't think it's a left against the right when it comes to Israel. And that's like what people think is like, but it's just a distraction. Like, they're both pro-Israel. They're both, fucking
I don't. So the actual politicians themselves, yes, Dan Bilzerian is right. But the left is very much not pro-Israel at all. They do not like Ben Shapiro's favorite country at all. If you look at, watch leftist streamers and watch leftist YouTubers and see what they say. They say wild things, dude. Like, Hassan is basically pro-Hamas, which I don't care how much you don't like Ben Shapiro's favorite country. Being pro-Hamas is an evil thing. That's an evil thing. They do evil stuff, right? Like, they're an extremist group. So I understand people get clouded by emotion and they see that Ben Shapiro's favorite country has, a chokehold on a lot of our politicians and stuff. That's not an excuse to go to the point where you're pro Hamas. Like, that is nutty. And that's par for the course for Hassan. He is a nut. But the politicians, yes, they are all pro Israel. The actual Democrats themselves, the left themselves, they are not at all. They hate that country.
Biden's giving Israel shitloads of money. Like, what do you mean? Trump's going to give shitloads of money? Trump's going to fucking go to war with Iran? What are you talking about? They're both fucking.
You think Trump's going to go to war with Iran?
He said he's going to.
No, it's his way of saying to not go to war.
He puts
the same way he said with everybody else that he was going to push them. Or more didn't happen. He said.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he said that he was going to.
So then let me ask you. So who would you vote for today? It doesn't sound like you're voting for anybody.
I mean, if I had to choose between those two, Trump for sure. I don't even think it's close. I mean, Kamala's half a fucking retard. And she pushes, all this woke left ideology. This is nonsense. Like, I mean, she's a fucking complete moron. Not that Trump is like a super genius either, but like, light years past her. I mean, she was like one of the most hated people. Like how she even got the fucking nomination is beyond me. Like how they didn't even give it a big mic is crazy. Like
you ever heard of, you're so funny. You ever heard of eugenics?
Eugenics?
Eugenics. Eugenics. You ever heard of that?
What's that?
Okay. You ever?
Yeah, we're gonna cut it off there. Shout out to Patrick Bet David for having the courage to say stuff like that. It really is, you know, it's refreshing to see. That's why I support people like PBD and like Candace Owens. Like whenever her whole thing was going down, is because there's not many people with the courage to talk about that kind of stuff. And I think it just needs to be talked about. You know, I don't think it should come from a place of hatred. I see a lot of people, they get consumed by this stuff. And I like how Dan Bilzerian can sit on Patrick Bet David's show and say, yes, these people are sold out. All candidates, all politicians, they're sold out to Ben Shapiro's favorite country. But yet I'm still going to vote for Trump because that's not the only thing that matters in the world. And it's very easy for a lot of people to be absolutely, completely consumed by this topic, by this discussion, and just like lose their mind, become completely black-pilled, which I'm pretty black-pilled, but it's not at the point where like, it's still an obvious choice who to vote for, right? It's still a very, very obvious choice who the better candidate is. And yes, it sucks that he's sold out just like everybody else, but that's not the only thing that matters. There's a whole lot of other things that you need to vote. You need to keep in mind whenever you're voting and choosing who to vote for. So let me know in the comments what you thought about Dan Bilzerian's appearance over on the PBD podcast. I thought it was pretty awesome. Let me know in the comments what you think about this PBD and Dan Bilzerian conversation.